Hi there, welcome to the Large Mix Farm channel. It's Arthur here. Today we want to give you an update, basically looking at the challenges that we are facing in goat farming during the kidding season. As you may be aware, we've stocked our goats and most of them are really first-time mothers. And you know there's a lot that comes with first-time mothers. First, they have challenges giving birth. This means we have to ensure that somebody is around to be able to support them in the delivery process. It's quite a very painful experience when you look at them and they go through such a lot of pain. Remember, these are some of the local goats that we acquired, but also with some other Movende breeds. And then we brought in a pure back, 100% Boer bloodline. And so these he-goats, their babies tend to be very big compared to, what you would get from the local he-goats. So this goat to be able to give birth to that big baby, it's quite an experience and really tough for these young mothers. So we have our herdsmen around to be able to support during the delivery of these babies. Now, as they give birth, after going through a lot of pain, there's a tendency of neglecting or refusing their babies. It kind of, gives birth after you've supported it, but it will go on the sidelines, continue feeding without, bothering about this young baby that has just been born, even when we try to bring it close and so forth. I think it's because of the trauma that it has gone through trying to push this baby. So in the process, we have to ensure that we hold it and support the goat kid to be able to suckle. That actually takes some days, because then once it refuses, it's not that it's just going to accept after a day or two. Sometimes it can take us a week. But eventually, they pull through and end up embracing these babies of theirs. Now, some young mothers that look grown up, you find that it looks good, it looks healthy, grown up. And so you give it a he-goat to be serviced, but you find that it is not capable of holding this big baby. Remember I told you, being a pure Boer, the babies tend to be very big. Now in the process, some of these wombs of these young mothers cannot contain that big baby. So we have had cases of abortion. When you observe keenly, you realize it's because of the big nature of the baby. And the mother is not yet strong enough to handle that big baby. So I think it's nature that causes that. It ends up aborting other than, giving birth what it cannot be able to carry in its womb. So we have had some cases of prematures on the farm, and we are also getting in touch with our vet to be able to advise us how to go about it. Should we allow them to conceive the next round? Should we let them skip the next round of conceiving and then we wait maybe for the third round? Maybe they'll have grown big enough to see. That's some of the information we are trying to seek from our vet doctor that we have on orientation on this farm. Now, we've also had mothers that have given birth to very healthy babies, but you now realize that they don't have sufficient, milk to breastfeed these young goat kids. It's quite a challenge here, and we've had, I think, around 5 cases. You find the breast is there, looks big, but there's hardly any milk coming out from the breasts. And sometimes some of them have given birth to twins, others to, single goat kids. So that's another challenge that we are noticing, and we are continuing to do our records. Once we see that the next round is the same, I think we shall have to consider removing such mothers so that we continue with those that are able to give birth but also have sufficient milk to support the babies. Otherwise, you end up having more mothers coming up from this line of goats, and yet they are not capable of holding and looking after their young goat kids adequately. So it is something that we are continuing to monitor as we move along. Then the other challenge we have also noticed, we've just had one case, but which is quite an experience. A goat gives birth and is supported, but you find now the placenta takes long to get out. It has been a challenge. You find the goat gave birth in the morning hours at around 10, and we, gave it every necessary support that is required, but the placenta could not get out till evening. We consulted the doctor, told us to leave it, and we were able to give it some medication and told us to just let it be. So we observed that the placenta got out the following day at around 11. So if it's your first time and you get such a case, it can really be quite a traumatizing experience or a disheartening experience. but just to let you know that these are some of the cases that we expect and we have been able to experience. So if you come across such a case, just get in touch with your veterinary doctor in time to see what he'll be able to advise you. And then we've been also able to get some cases of sudden death of goat kids. You find the goat has given birth, it is healthy, no deformities whatsoever, the mother has sufficient milk, but for some reason you wake up in the morning, it is playing nicely, and then at around 10, you see it when it has dropped dead or when it is kicking its last kick, and you really notice that it is dying. We are trying to understand what is causing that, because you find that we are looking after them properly in their pen. We put sufficient dry grass, make sure that it is warm, there is no strong wind and so forth. So we've been able to get around the 3 cases of that nature, and so we are trying to understand what's causing that. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing here on Ladmix Farm during the kidding season, and we felt it important to share with you as we journey along so that you get to know what takes place and how we can be able to support one another. Thank you.